You know who my next guest is? The former middleweight champion, the number one ranked middleweight, and the man who defeated Jared Cannonier at UFC 254. It is Robert Whittaker back here on the program. Rob, how's it going, man?
Very good, mate. Very good. It's good to be back.
Yes, it's good to talk to you. A lot to talk about. I know you've been making the rounds like we were talking about off air, but I wanted to start first. I don't know if anyone asked you this. Did you get to celebrate Halloween this year?
I didn't. I'm in lockdown, so when I come back into the country, I got to spend 2 weeks in isolation. So not a lot to do.
Well, did you at least dress up, or I guess that didn't even matter, right?
No one can see me. What's the point of dressing up? If
I don't know. You could take a photo, put it on Instagram. I don't know, something like that. But
I'm not like that, G.
No worries, no worries. I like the honesty. Let's start first with Anderson Silva. We just had his fight last weekend. I'm sure you caught it. I thought he looked pretty good in the fight leading up to the knockout. What did you think of his performance at 45 years old? Still, going pretty far with Uriah Hall in that fight.
Yeah, I think it was good considering like. He's not an old jook anymore, you know what I mean? He's weathered. He's got some years under his belt, so I think he looks very good in that respect. But do I think he can keep mixing it up with like the top tier athletes, top caliber athletes at his age? No, I don't think so. I think he should be very happy with his career. I think he had an astonishing career, and yeah, he should be very proud of himself.
Yeah, and I thought, all things considered, looked pretty good, but I'm kind of with you. I think it might be time for him to call it quits. Not that, I'm in a position to say anything, but just given my opinion, I think it might be the end of the road. But what do you make of this, though? Because, he still wants to fight. I think he's still got some fights in his contract. Dana White doesn't want him to fight. What do you think happens here? Because it's not like they're going to release him and let him go to Bellator. Do you think he'll, take the advice of the UFC and stay retired?
It's hard to say. It's hard to say because every fighter is a little cracked upstairs. So you don't know what they're thinking. You don't know how they're thinking. If he says he wants to fight, then he could be fighting until he's 60. You know what I mean? The thing is, though, I can say from a technical point of view is that he doesn't have what young Anderson did, which is that microsecond reflex timing, that ability to absorb hits that he can't dodge, and that uncanny eye reflex reaction timing. And because they were his biggest attributes moving up the division in his fight style, is just being so unorthodox with his striking because his defensive abilities were top tier. He could mostly avoid damage or take the damage. And you can just see that as he's aged, he's been... Like, he hasn't been able to take that damage. He hasn't been able to dodge those strikes. And that's kind of the center point to his whole game.
Let's talk about you. Obviously, you've been in the news a lot for this whole, Israel Adesanya, Jan Blachowicz thing. And I know you kind of found out through the media that they had booked this fight and that, Dana had said that you didn't want the fight. So how surprising was that to sort of see things kind of leak out the way they did?
Yeah, it was confusing more than that. It was confusing. It was just confusing. It's a weird thing. It's not something I didn't like. I assumed they were going to try and make that fight anyway, and I was happy. Like, I was happy for them to make that fight. I'm in no rush. I wish we had an open dialogue or communication, but it is what it is. I'm playing with what I have now, and like I've mentioned, in a lot of other interviews and stuff, is that I'm going to fight him. I'm happy for that fight, whether it's 185 or light heavyweight. I'm going to get that fight. That's the fight I earned beating Jared. That's the next fight that makes sense. Even Dana White said that's the next fight that makes sense.
And, just to clarify as well, like ideally, when would you have liked to have come back? Because, one of the things I think that got lost in translation, you're going to be a dad again. And you've talked about too, just, being busy. You fought twice this year. Like, you've been a good company, man. I think it's not that unreasonable just to ask for, a little bit of time off. It's my understanding kind of April is when you were looking to fight again, right?
Yeah, March, April. Because that was my biggest thing after last fight, was just to get my timeline out there, because I really want to be there for my family and be there with my family during the birth of my next child. That's my fourth kid. I've got 4 crazy kids.
Good for you, man. All the power to you.
They're all under 5. Like
Yeah.
We need all hands on deck.
No, I agree. I got one, and I mean, imagine having 4 kids. That's all the power to you, man. And from a fellow dad, I think that's great. So that's awesome. Let me ask you this, and it's kind of a dumb hypothetical, but do you think the old Robert Whittaker, the Robert Whittaker that was fighting all the time, and you talked about kind of getting burnt out a little bit, do you think if this was a few years ago, you might have taken that fight, just maybe not being as aware of the fact that you can say, hey, look, I got a family, I got to enjoy as well?
100% I would have, and that's kind of half the problem. That was kind of half the reasons why I got burnt out, why I lost a little bit of love. Everything that I do, I lost love not only for the sport, but what the sport provided for me. So, no, 100%, I would have done things differently. This is a much better, like in how I feel and how I'm running things. This is a much better way of doing things. Like I've remembered why I'm fighting. There is no point fighting for my family at the cost of my family. That can be the quote for the whole.
Yeah, there you go. You already did my job for me. All right, we're done here.
That's good. One.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we'll use that for sure. You mentioned how you were sort of expecting this fight with Blachowicz and Adesanya moving up, but just as kind of playing devil's advocate here, I'm a little bit surprised because Adesanya's only got 2 title defenses. You've got this Thiago Santos and Glover Teixeira fight happening on Saturday, which essentially doesn't mean much, even though Thiago Santos has a win over the champ. He's knocked him out, but I guess that doesn't mean much because Izzy's next. And then on top of that, you've got this Jack Hermanson and Darren Till fight, which, I mean, I think if Hermanson wins, that's got to put him in a good spot as well. From that sort of point of view, do you think it is a bit of a risk for the UFC's part where they're sort of clogging up these 2 fights?
Yeah, it definitely throws the division in a bit of turmoil. But I guess that's the fight that kind of makes money, right? And if anything, the UFC is a good company. They know how to make money.
Do you think, I mean, another hypothetical here, just wanted to get your perspective, but if Hermanson had beat Darren Till, do you think he would have been deserving of a title shot? Let's say if you wanted to wait a little bit longer, do you think he's done enough to do that? Or do you think Hermanson, even if he beats Till, would need another fight? I'm just trying to get your perspective here. I'm actually curious.
It's hard to say, honestly. I think anyone in the top 5 can fight for a title at any time because the top 5 is kind of the testing grounds, if you would. And yeah, it's hard to say. Like I stand by that. If you're in the top 5, you got to be ready because you can be fighting for that title anytime. I think above all though is that I have earned my right to a title shot.
Oh, absolutely.
The number 1 contender, and I fought 2 top caliber guys that were the next in line that everyone tried to hype up, everyone tried to push for that next spot. And I just upset people.
Well, and I think when you were a former champion, I think that should hold some weight as well in terms of, whether it's a rematch. I mean, we've seen champions when they lose their title, they get an immediate rematch. So that's another thing, that people should get reminded of in this situation as well. But anyways, that's past that. Paulo Costa, I want to talk about this. I saw a quote today saying that he's very close to fighting you in December. I'm pretty sure that's all fake news, as Donald Trump likes to say. Is that accurate? Because, I mean, if you're saying you need time off, why would you fight Costa instead of fighting Israel Adesanya?
Did he post that, did he?
He did. I saw something today just before we got on here saying that he's very close to fighting you in December. So,
okay, let me get a couple of things out there, right? So the first thing is that I live under a rock pretty much. So I don't see a lot of things flying around the media. Like I don't pay attention to it. I feel like I have enough to worry about than jump into that deep end as well. So I don't. So the whole thing with Dana twisting my words around and things like that, like generally I'm the last one to become aware of it. And then when I was like, wow, I've got to address this, and here we are. But I guess with Costa, that is crazy. I find it funny because there is 0.0 chance I'm fighting Costa in December. I wasn't going to fight for the belt in December.
Right, I know. That's what's so hilarious about this. Yeah, I chuckled at that as well. And Costa's been a little interesting since the loss to Adesanya. He's demanding a rematch and all these things as well. What do you think about the way he sort of handled things after that loss? I think he's the only person who thinks that he deserves a rematch.
I guess if I had to sum up what he's doing, it's flailing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's he's flailing. He's He's trying to grab anything. He invested so much emphasis on the result of the fight with Adesanya that now that he didn't come away with the result that he wanted, he's kind of flailing for anything else. He's trying to get that fight again. He's trying to make himself relevant. He's trying to fight this guy. He's trying to fight that guy. He's trying to build up that hype train that was once behind him, that he was once riding, and that's, yeah, but it is what it is. Like, that's the sport. That's the nature of the beast. Like, you had a bad loss, but you dust yourself off, you get back up.
Back to your card, when you fought Cannonier, you obviously got to be a part of this card that, we think might be Khabib Nurmagomedov's last fight. How was that, getting to watch that fight? I don't know if you caught it like in the arena, or maybe they had to quarantine you, but what was it like seeing Khabib get a really dominant win over Justin Gaethje? Yeah,
that performance from Khabib was amazing. It was phenomenal. Like, just went out there and jiu-jitsu'd him, like, went for the kill, giving up positions. Like, it was phenomenal. And then in the striking world, he just went in there throwing. Like, it was, and that just goes to show that, like, Khabib can just do whatever he wants in there. He's unstoppable in the octagon, I feel. I thought Gaethje was going to be one of the dudes to act like, if I was a betting man, I was always going to go Khabib. I don't think Khabib can lose, to be honest. Like, I don't think he can lose, bar just getting caught from a punch from the gods. But I thought Gaethje was the one dude with the skill set and the fight style to at least take it to him, give him a fight. Similar to like Alquinta, but better. And he just didn't happen like that. Like, Khabib just showed like why he's so good, why he's one of the best ever. And yeah, it was phenomenal to watch.
So we talked about, obviously, like what's sort of next for you. I mean, I know right now the focus is on family and all that, but, by the sounds of it, you basically just want to wait to see what happens with Blachowicz and Adesanya, and then you'll fight the winner. Just to clarify here, you don't want to fight anyone else in the meantime. I just wanted to get that on the record.
No other fight interests me, no. So, but it's not like I'm going to do nothing. Once Christmas and my child is out of the way, like it's happened, and it's March, April, and I'm looking for that fight. I'm gonna be after my child's born. I'm gonna be looking for a fight. So we'll see where the timelines are happening. Maybe I just stay ready for that fight. Maybe something happens and one of them falls out, and then I just jump in and slide into that fight. Like, I'm not averse to fighting up, at that weight. So I might just prepare for that anyway.
Just as a backup, yeah, that'd be interesting.
Yeah.
Rob, I want to thank you so much for the time here today. I really appreciate it. Any sponsors, any social media you want to plug? I'll give you the last word.
All my sponsors, I give a lot of love to, because I've only got a select few, Musashi, Bethesda, like these guys, they're just with me since they died. But just follow me, Rob Whittaker MMA, suss out what I'm up to. It's mostly just family stuff. And I'll be back soon.